Hello, everybody. My name is Darrell Jordan Smith. I'm the Senior Vice President of Global Industries and Accounts. I'm excited to be back here at 5G, Open 5G. And as Chris Wright outlined in his discussion and his remarks, we're going to take a look at what's actually changing in 5G as it rolls out to the edge and at what we're trying to see and experience using AI and ML technologies at the far edge in terms of the next generation of applications and services that will help us enable what we call here at Red Hat the hybrid cloud. That is a cloud that is interconnected at the edge back into the core of the network, also out into the enterprise and consumers that use these services. And today, I'm really have a great pleasure of actually being able to talk to Randeep Sekhon, who's actually the CTO of Bharti Airtel. So, Randeep, welcome here today. It's great to have you, and thank you for your time. You've been very gracious. Let me just do a quick introduction of Bharti Airtel. They're one of the leading global operators. I think by subscriber size, you're number 3 in the world. I would, that's the latest data. Is that correct, Randeep?
Yeah, if you add our India and Africa subscribers, we are there.
Oh, wow, that's phenomenal. And it's absolutely wonderful that you're here today because we're really keen to understand what you're experiencing in the marketplace, what you're seeing in the technology on the technology side, as well as how you're realizing and visualizing that in the business. So with the pandemic, because that's everyone's living with the pandemic, how especially in India are you finding the environment? How challenging has it been for you to keep your network up and running and people in India safe?
I think, first of all, thank you. Great to be here. I would love to share our views and Indian market status with the audience. Pandemic is now a year and a half old. It is like business as usual, if I may say it. Yeah. So we had two waves, and there is a prediction of third wave. I really hope it doesn't happen. And the second wave was very severe. So really speaking, the system has got used to in terms of when the infections increase, how to live as human beings or citizens of a country. But as telcos, we have kind of bottled the whole process of how to work remote and how to work physical. Right now, things are normal, so we are working physically in our offices. But if things go south, we do have a very easy BCP which is triggered, and in a day, everybody's working remotely. So, from our perspective, we are well tuned to work remotely. But what did this pandemic show to all of us is that telecommunication is not a good to have service, but it's like essential service. It's as essential as a water or electricity or a medical service because it keeps people connected. So in that sense, we feel that there is a social service which we also do of keeping everybody connected and contributing to the government's fighting this pandemic. So we do our bit in fighting this pandemic. Um, what we see once this happens and there are lockdowns is that the traffic increases. People tend to move to a lesser crowded places, so they move outside cities, they move into suburban and rural areas. And we also see that the dependency on a good connection really increases. That means the sensitivity in case there is a small problem in their internet connectivity really goes very high because they may be missing an important lesson, an important interview, important deal for a businessman, a corporate to important meeting, a board meetings are being had remotely. So in that sense, the connectivity, whether it is wireless or it is fiber, is really key. So the operators are left with two choices, and this is the two choices which Airtel has made. One is we have to really invest in experience because the customers, you can say, livelihood nowadays in some case may depend on it. So we really invest in experience. Second, we will not be able to do a lot of things physically, so we double down on investments on automation. I think more things you can do automation, less times you have to do truck rolls to go and send physically people to solve, and you are solving customer experience issues. I think this is how I would like to summarize where we stand today after almost like year and a half of COVID.
Yeah, and I want to congratulate you because you've been able to manage the load across the network as people, as you said, move from cities to rural areas and provide that connectivity necessary to support that. And with that in mind, how do you see, the open hybrid cloud, from your perspective at Bharti Airtel?
So yes, load is very important. I mean, again, very different to the audience which will be listening here. In India, the usage per sub on a wireless network is 20 GB per sub per month. I mean, and mind you, the customer pays only $3 for that. I mean, if you were in probably UK, you will be paying £20 for a not more than 5 GB subscription, where it is a $3 and almost a subscription which can get you 45 GBs, 1.5 GB a day, but definitely people use up to 20 GB. There are many people who use more. So in that light, where it's almost unlimited in a day what you can take, the managing capacities and serving them in the lowest cost to serve becomes very important. And cloud becomes a very important angle to it. Especially what it helps you is create a liquid scalable network which can scale, which can move capacities from urban areas to rural areas, and we can really have a you can say much smoother way of do things. But if you add the automation angle of cloud and the self-heal angle of cloud, then it also solves many business and operation problems which would have been probably not so easier in the erstwhile days. Hybrid cloud is where you move away from a vertical cloud, if I may, place every application with a different cloud, and then you're trying to stitch the journey together. Here you bring in one cloud where different applications sit on it. This is what we do in India with our IBM Red Hat partnership. We have built a hybrid cloud, and we have built it for a very large capacities. So we are building workloads, and when we needed that capacity, it was very easy to drop additional capacities without having to kind of do the things we used to do earlier and have that long lead items. I think it's also very effective in today's time, which is even non-COVID, but we are having chip shortage. We are having a lot of delivery issues with almost all partners. In that case, cloud becomes very handy, and an automated cloud becomes even more handier when you have to drop in capacities and capabilities on the go. So I would say right now we don't use much of edge part of the hybrid cloud. We use it as a ubiquitous way of building packet cores, IMSs, things like that. But going forward, I think when the edge use cases start coming in, it'll also extend to the edge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on a very important point, at least twice in the conversation. The automation of end-to-end experience is not only just important for you as a business, but how you actually manage capacity, lower the overall cost over time. And it's great to hear that we're focused and working on that. As the applications, as you say, move to the edge, how do you see automation actually playing an important role there in the deployment of, say, your 5G environments?
I feel, Daryl, that automation is no longer a choice. I think this is a necessity because you cannot run a network which is so complex. Uh, if you really see, if I tell you how complex our network is, our complex has our every tower has four layers of 4G today because there are four different frequencies of 4G. I know there is a sub gigahertz, there is 18, 21, and 23, and there will be another layer of 5G coming in. Moving the device or the UE between these layers, then we also have a 2G network. Sometimes the network UE falls down to 2G. Managing that, no way you can do it with manual way of fixing things. You will leave a lot of efficiency on the ground. So automation is the key in managing networks. When we come to the cloud based applications and go forward, we'll have ORAN kind of applications which will be necessary cloud all the way to the DU at the site level. Automation solves few problems for you. I think the first problem is speed to deploy because if you do manual it takes long time. Second is speed to test. You can come out with a much faster testing, a holistic testing of an application which would earlier take. We have seen things which ran in weeks being done in hours now. Then comes the accuracy of testing, which means earlier you could have a human being miss it out because probably for the speed of rollout you are running tests over working hours and the human being can miss certain failure, but machine never misses. So I would say this whole thing, then you can go green. This is our slogan of going green, means you start green, you don't start with errors. So going green is much better if you have an automated atmosphere. And subsequently, when you have challenge of moving your capacities or changing some applications or changing the compute between two applications, something has gone down, something has gone up, I think that becomes very easy once you are in a fully automated environment. It is a journey. It is not a off-shelf thing. I mean, for my listeners, for those who are to start a journey, or for people who are in the journey, they will echo with me that this is not like a off shelf. It's a journey. You will keep fixing things, keep automating things. The only way you should have a metric is how many of the tasks you do are done automated, and how many are done with manual intervention, and how many are done with light touch. So I would say light touch to automated, manual to light touch is the journey we should do.
Yeah, and with that in mind, also, I want to ask a question around, sort of the business case around 5G from your perspective, and how that, is going to evolve from a business perspective. Obviously you have 4G today, the four spectrums of 4G. You're going to layer in on top of that a 5G. That costs a lot of capital to put that in place. So what opportunities do you think you're going to be able to in India glean from 5G to pay off that investment that you're going to make as you deploy that network?
I think this is the biggest challenge for all operators around the world. 5G does not have a no brainer business case, to be fair. I mean, it takes a lot of investment, not just in capex, but in Indian parlance, or in many other markets also. In spectrum, the cost of spectrum is very high. India spectrum is also going to be high. Then again, the operational expenses around power and space, which you will spend around bringing in a 5G layer. So I would say 5G is a tough use case or a business case in the early eras of deployment. What in India we see that 5G will come out with a larger spectrum compared to, we don't by choice use four layers of spectrum. It is only we have smaller tranches of spectrum, that's why we have to use four layers. If you get a large tranche of spectrum, you will be able to create a lot of capacity. I think that's what 5G will bring. In an Indian market which has lots and lots of users, we have 600-700 million internet users using wireless media in India. So those users with 5G will get access to much higher capacities and much better speeds, and hopefully they'll be able to pay slightly more than what they pay for a 4G access. I would say that will be the first business case point where we'll be able to create a GB much cheaper than what we create in 4G. But then the business case will be in filling those GBs. Can we get a device and application so that people are prompted to go and upgrade to a 5G phone? Luckily in India now we are seeing a good traction on 5G phones. Even without 5G networks, 15 to 20% of the phones today being shipped are 5G, which means by the time we deploy 5G networks, there will be a large population of Indian users who would have a 5G ready phone, and they will be able to use the service from day one. So that's what I see. The business case will start with enhanced mobile broadband. I mean, I think this is the use case. If you really ask me, if you can produce a GB cheaper and you can fill it up, I would say this will make a better use case than 5G, 4G, sorry. Then the use cases around B2B, which is enterprise use cases, industry 4.0 use cases. I think this is a even longer journey, because for them to find out a safety, a productivity or efficiency use cases, these are the three pillars around industry 4.0. I would say that will, and their paybacks will be the way the telcos will get paid back. So this is a journey we have already started actually existing. We have started with our enterprise customers, almost 15 to 20 POCs we are doing, where we are bringing in industry use cases with ports, with airports, with logistics, with shipping, with manufacturing, with FMCG, seeing what use cases we can bring which can bring them efficiency, and we can then participate as a efficiency share rather than cost to connect. So I would say it will be a journey. It is not a no brainer. It will take a lot of capex, but we see with a data hungry market like India, and if we can get the right prices around spectrum and our capex deployments, we should see some upside around that.
Yeah, and you mentioned the use cases that would look to more of an enterprise-based customer set. You also mentioned the need as your own business to automate as much as you possibly can. How do you see artificial intelligence AI playing a role in the network, and maybe looking at some of the enterprises as well that you're looking to serve in those use cases as you deploy next generation networks?
First, I will say that we are not there at AI yet. It's not cognitive. I mean, it is still more a machine learning than AI. Of course, we use loosely and call it as AI ML, but it is really more of machine learning. I think with so much of data being thrown in, I'm talking about internal use cases first. With so much of data being thrown in by the network elements and the devices, correlating them and finding meaningful ways to either improve customer experience or cost to serve, I think is where we are using. We are able to really pinpoint customer complaint issues or customer complaints using our machine learning algorithms. We can pinpoint this customer is at this location and this is the reason for his complaint. It could be optimization, interference, capacity, coverage, and then we are able to pinpoint what could be the most probable cause. That cuts that journey by which could have taken days and somebody to go there physically by significant amount of my amount. And if we can get accuracies to 70-80%, then we are actually really problem solving journey shortened a lot. In industrial use cases, my belief is we are in a very, you can say, a great time where it's converging. Three things are converging right now. One is cloud, where you are able to have large capacities and compute available all the way till edge. The second is IoT, the small sensors around us, whether it is a smart office, smart city, smart home, smart factory, whatever you call it, smart, or wearables. They will throw in so much of data which earlier could not have been processed because of the lack of compute and cloud kind of things. And then you have access technology like 5G, even 4G to some extent, which will help these IoTs in a very high density connect to the network and give this data. And then running machine learning and AI algorithms on this data and finding these use cases around efficiency, productivity, new innovation, and I would say safety. It's also a very big use case. We will be able to find ways to solve problems which we never thought we could solve, or sometimes we never knew this problem existed because we could never bring this analysis in front. We stayed with a simpler Excel sheet based analysis. So I think this will help solve many problems and bring efficiency, and overall it will be beneficial from industry as well and to users as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that insight. And my last question, and we have a lot of people listening with us today on Open 5G. And one of the last questions I love to ask is on your journey as you created this network and this experience and you look forward, yeah, if you could impart a piece of wisdom on anyone looking to do the same thing, what would that be? I mean, what would that experience be from your perspective?
I think the first word I will tell everybody, don't be a copycat. Don't see that a operator has done it, I will do the same. No, I think this cloud journey per se and what problem you have to solve has to be seen first inward. What are the problems you're wanting to solve? Somebody may be wanting to solve a scale problem. Somebody may be solving, you can say, the errors they have during deployment or something. Somebody may be trying to solve the speed to deploy problem. So what is your problem statement is the first part I think which you need to do as an operator. Then you have to write out what is the right path to solve that. That may not come easy. So the first step after you have known your problem to solve is choose the right set of partners. You cannot be talking to everybody and then making your strategy, because most likely you'll get confused because everybody will drag you towards what is their USP. So you need to choose your right partners. Between you and your right partners, before you start actually truck rolls, you have to make your journey. You have to make your strategy, what you need to do first, what are the drop one use cases, what are the drop two use cases, what we will see probably outer maybe a year or two down the line. But you build a capability which is scalable, which is flexible, which is agile, and then you start on the journey. And the last thing I would say is be patient. There is no magic wand in this journey. It will take time. For first 6 months to 9 months you may not see any benefit and you will say, is this money worth spending? I would say in that case you just have to stick on the journey. You have to have the right metric and you have to have the right baseline of the problem what you defined earlier, and then you see whether the needle is moving or not. I would say it's a patience journey. It eventually will pay off, and I will only say that it is it is not a journey you can avoid. You can delay. More you are delayed, more longer you will take, because it's difficult in brownfields over greenfields. So many operators who have done on greenfields, they have been more successful because they did not have a legacy to port to this way. So the more you do earlier, the more greenfield applications you can bring on board. Otherwise, you'll have to port in your brownfield applications to this. So that's what I can say from our journey so far.
Well, that's great insights, wonderful wisdom, and thank you very much, Randeep. Again, pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate the time that you spent with us today. I think our audience is going to um, resonate a lot with a lot of what you said. And again, thank you very much for being here today.